Hello and welcome to this week's travel show. Quite a packed show, a bit more packed than normal, so hopefully I can squeeze it all in. We're talking Macau. It's an alternative stop-off destination for those who are flying to Australia, or if you fancy to do something a little bit different than Hong Kong. We're talking Christmas markets. It's very close to Christmas, but it's still time to pop over and experience a European Christmas market. I'll be speaking to Paul McTiernan from Leisure Holidays about those. And we're getting to the winter sports season, so we're going to get some advice on snowboarding and a little bit of skiing from Simon Wilkinson, who's a trainer at the Sno Zone at Milton Keynes. We're going to find out what you should be doing before you go. So that's all coming up. But first, Macau. Macau really came to my attention with a James Bond film. I was thinking about going to see the latest one, Spectre. And then it reminded me about the last one where Macau was in there for maybe 5 or 6 minutes. And it looked quite an exciting place to visit, although you didn't really see much of it. So I wanted to find out more, and Sue Whitehead is the go-to person in the UK when it comes to Macau as a travel destination. I had a chat with her, and this is what she had to say.
Macau's actually on the south coast of China. It's about 40 miles southwest of Hong Kong, so it's very close to Hong Kong.
How big is it?
It's not very large. It's 29 square kilometres, or about 11 or 12 square miles.
I'm sure that some people have never heard of Macau, but they might have seen it in a film. What recent films have featured it as a destination?
The most recent film that Macau was featured in was actually Skyfall, the James Bond movie last year. So James Bond goes to a casino in that, and that is set in Macau.
Best ever James Bond film, apparently.
Absolutely, totally agree.
Macau's a special administrative region. What does that mean?
Right, yes. Hong Kong is also a special administrative region of China. Basically, the two territories were both handed back to China. Hong Kong was handed back, as I'm sure most people know, in 1997. And Macau was handed back in 1999, and they were given this status of SAR, or Special Administrative Region. And basically what it means is, although they are part of China, they retain a great deal of autonomy. So, for example, they still have their own currencies and border controls. So that's what an SAR is. So there's two of them, one Macau, one Hong Kong.
Okay. How is Macau different to Hong Kong? What's the history?
The real difference is that whereas Hong Kong was British, as I'm sure everybody knows, Macau was Portuguese. And the Portuguese were in Macau actually a lot longer than we were in Hong Kong. The Brits were in Hong Kong. The Portuguese arrived in Macau in the 16th century, the mid-1550s. As I said just now, the Macau was handed back to China in 1999. So they were there for around 500 years. So the influence of in Macau of the Portuguese is still very strong to this day, in the architecture, in the food, and the general culture.
It's an awful long time, isn't it, to be that?
It's a very long time, yes.
Do they speak Portuguese there?
It's still one of the official languages, and a number of people do still speak Portuguese in Macau.
Okay, I can't speak Mandarin or Chinese or whatever, or Portuguese, so I still have to shout in English, I guess.
As most people do.
Yeah. How long does it take to get there from the UK?
Right, well, Macau does have an airport, but there are actually no direct flights from the UK at the moment. So what most British people do is fly to Hong Kong, which takes about 12 hours. And then there's a direct high-speed ferry link from Hong Kong Airport, which takes about 45 minutes. So it's very easy and painless to get there straight from the airport.
Does somebody from the UK need a visa to get to Macau?
No, British passport holders don't need a visa for stays up to 6 months.
Okay. Something that's very important to me is needles. I'm not very good with them. Would I need any vaccinations?
None are required by Macau. All we would say generally to people is that the usual vaccinations you'd be given for life in the UK. Here, you should have them up to date. Hepatitis A is usually recommended along with a mosquito repellent. But to be honest with you, we always say to people, just check with your doctor to get a recommendation for your own particular situation.
We've already touched on the fact that I can't speak any other language, but is it easy for a visitor like me to get around and ask for things there?
Yes, absolutely. It's, as I said before, Cantonese and Portuguese are the official languages, but English is widely spoken in tourism, although not everybody speaks it. So what we normally suggest is when you're in Macau, most hotels will give out a little card with the hotel's details on it in Chinese, so that if you do get a taxi driver, for example, that doesn't speak English, you can just show them the card and they can get you back to your hotel. But you generally don't have too much of a problem with English.
Okay, that would save me taking a photograph with my iPhone then and showing him the picture.
Oh, is that what you've done? That's a really good idea.
What's the currency, and can you order it in the UK ahead, or do you have to pick it up when you get there?
The local currency is called the Pataka, Pataca, but actually the Hong Kong dollar is also accepted in Macau, and it has virtually exactly the same value. It is hard to get patakas in the UK. I guess you'd have to pre-order them from your bank. You certainly can't get them in normal currency exchange places. So either you could get them on arrival in Macau or do what I do, which is use Hong Kong dollars, which is just as easy.
Okay. When's the best time of year to visit?
It's a year-round destination. It does have 4 seasons. There is a clear spring, summer, autumn, winter. It's not the same temperature year-round. It's cool in the winter. It doesn't get as cold as the UK, but it does have a cool winter. Mm-hmm. Summer can get pretty hot and humid. And there's occasionally tropical storms. Probably spring and autumn are the nicest times to visit, so it's lovely and warm, but not quite as humid as it is in the summer, any time year-round. And as I say, even in their winter, it doesn't get as cold as here.
I could do a bit in there right now. I'm freezing.
They've had great weather there lately, actually. It's been wonderful.
Yeah. Mm. What about the accommodation? Is it just large hotels? Is there a range? And how is it compared to staying in Hong Kong?
Right. There are a lot of large hotels there. You can find all the international brand names that you'd expect from, Mandarin Oriental and Four Seasons, or Holiday Inn, Best Western, so all those recognizable brands. But there are hotels at all levels there, and including lovely small traditional Portuguese pousadas, which are like Portuguese boutique style hotels that have got loads of character. In terms of price, it is a city, but when you said comparing with Hong Kong, what tends to happen with Macau tends to be busier at weekends and not so busy midweek. So what we usually say to people is for the best value to be in Macau would be midweek rather than at weekends when it can get quite busy in the hotels there.
You're listening to The Travel Show with John Guinn on ukhealthradio.com. Still to come, European Christmas markets, and also the one bit of kit you must own if you're into winter sports. You can hire everything when you get there, but snowboarding expert Simon Wilkinson recommends you buy at least one item and make it your own. Find out what that is later on in the show. But for now, we'll find out more about Macau with Sue Whitehead. Is it easy to get around?
Yeah. As I said before, it's quite a small place, which makes it quite easy to get around. Bus and taxi is currently the main way to get around. It's very convenient and very inexpensive. You can hire cars and bikes as well if you want.
But what is there actually to see and do once you're there?
There's lots, particularly for somewhere that, as I've said, is not desperately large. I guess the jewel in the crown, really, of Macau is what's known as the Historic Centre of Macau, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It was recognised by UNESCO in 2005. And it's a collection of over 20 buildings of Portuguese and Chinese origins. So you've got Baroque churches, you've got lovely temples, you've got elegant squares. It's a really lovely area to walk around. Lots of little alleys and lots of character. The iconic building of Macau is called the Ruins of St. Paul's, which is the facade of a beautiful old church. And the oldest building is called the Armagh Temple, which dates back to the late 1400s. So beautiful traditional Taoist temple. So that's really the key historic attraction. It's definitely a place where you eat really well. The food in Macau is incredible. And so it's a good dining destination from all levels. The Macau Tower is a key attraction. It's 388 meters high. It's one of the tallest towers in the world. So you get really spectacular views across the Pearl River Delta. And actually there are lots of exciting things to do at the Macau Tower. You can do a skywalk, which is you go almost to the top of the tower and you get tethered on and can walk around the outside of the tower. Or if you're really, really brave, it's actually got the world's highest bungee jump. Certainly that's not one that I would do, but many, many people do. There's an amazing show called The House of Dancing Water, which is a bit like a Cirque du Soleil type show, but it's over and in and under and around a huge pool. So people are doing high diving acrobatics into the water. It's really breathtaking, and there's nothing like it anywhere else. In the south of Macau, there's a lovely laid-back area called Coloane, where there's villages, beaches, and down there is a giant panda pavilion. Macau has a couple of giant pandas which were gifted to them by mainland China, so you can go and visit the pandas down there. And there's a great nightlife in Macau, great bars, clubs, and casinos. There's a number of casinos in Macau, so you can have a great night out at the tables.
You said you haven't done the bungee jump, but
Yes.
have you actually done the skywalk itself?
No, I must admit I haven't, because I'm not very good with heights, but I know lots of people that have. And in fact, one of the members of my team has done the bungee. So in fact, she's done 3 bungees around the world, and Macau was her third one. So yeah. I've seen people do them regularly, and people that love those kind of adrenaline sports. It's a great place to do it. It's a really spectacular place to do it.
I do fancy the skywalk, but I don't think I'll be doing the bungee jump.
Yeah, no, the skywalk's great actually. Yeah, and to say you're tethered on, so yeah, you feel very secure when you're doing it, as I understand it.
I just hope it's all strong enough to take my weight. Let's just have to try.
I think so.
Hong Kong gets used as a stopover to go to Australia, New Zealand, and etc. How would Macau compare with that?
Yeah, it's a great stopover alternative to Hong Kong, and because, as I mentioned earlier, there are direct high-speed ferry links from the airport. It makes it very easy. So, easy. So you could get off your flight from the UK and Hong Kong, not clear immigration in Hong Kong, but get the high-speed ferry straight over to Macau for however long you want, and then go straight back to the airport and carry on for your flight to Australia or New Zealand. So it works very well for that.
Is it good for shopping?
It's great for shopping. Yes, it really is great for shopping. You've got great local buys like jewelry, antiques, clothing. There's some fantastic local markets that you can rummage around. But also you've got the really top-end luxury shopping malls which carry all the international designer brands. So you've got shopping at both ends, if you like.
Okay. Good. So there's food and there's shopping. So what more do you need? The
food really is, I would say, one of the key attractions of going to Macau. It's